Looking for a mechanic job? Email your resume to semis@truck@talus.net. Even if you are out of town, email your resume to semistruck@talus.net or call Vijay at 604-540-1463. Semis Truck and Trailer Repair Service also provides mobile service. So if you're stuck anywhere on the road, give a Semis Truck and Trailer Repair Service a call. Phone 604-540-1463.
परेशानी ही परेशानी, अब ये सब परेशानी दूर हो सकता है। दुनिया के सबसे फेमस इंडियन एस्ट्रोलॉजर और साइकिक अर्जुन देव के पास सब प्रॉब्लम के सॉल्यूशन है, जैसे कि डिप्रेशन, हेल्थ इश्यूज, बच्चे के प्रॉब्लम, मैरिज इश्यूज। दुर्गा माता एस्ट्रोलॉजर और साइकिक अर्जुन देव स्पेशलाइजेज इन एनिमी प्रॉब्लम्स, जादू, ओबाया, evil spirits and gives lifelong protection. All religions are welcome, private and confidential. Call Arjun Dev at 604-445-8735, located at 86 on Scott Road in Surrey.
Yes, get up and go. और आपको कहाँ पर जाना है? Niche Crystals and Amazing Jewelry में Certified Dealer of Precious and Semi-Precious Gemstones. Healing के लिए या तो डेकोरेशन के लिए, अगर आपको gemstones चाहिए, crystal rocks चाहिए, check out the website www.nishca.com. McNish नारायण को कॉल कर सकते हैं at 604-788-0807 पर।
कहानी घर घर की प्रोग्राम, मेरे साथ है आयशा और मैं हूँ प्रवीण प्रसाद और also known as Pepper
और मेमिया।
Oh, मेमिया, that's right. हम like करता मेमिया, हम like करता, हाँ।
अच्छा, it's good to be different.
Yeah, that's true.
It is good to be different, and it's good to have women that can support women. We are lucky that us women have women to support us. We have guys supporting us, na? What about जो आज का main topic है, right? आज का जो main topic है, ये topic है about basically getting support for men. और this week Sunday को Father's Day है.
That's right.
So for this whole month we've made it like it is the month for male.
That's right.
Right? जो हमारे मर्द है उनको हम सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं। तो आज सुबह सुबह आपने हमारे उसमें ग्रुप मैसेज में आपने एक कोट भेजा था।
हाँ,
आपने कोट भेजा था, तो वो कोट था क्या? I'll let you read.
Okay, sure. No problem. So just give me one sec. Men's Mental Health Week, June 14th to the 20th. We lose 6 men per day to suicide. More men die by suicide. More men have died by suicide in 2019 than the entire Australian. Is that right? Australian toll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I actually
2019 and 2020 combined.
Combined, right? Yeah, that's
combined.
right. Combined.
Men are 75% more likely to commit suicide. Men are more likely. 75% more likely to commit suicide on average. 1 in 8 men will experience depression, and 1 in 5 men will experience anxiety at some stage of their lives. तो अब हम सवाल ये पूछना चाहते हैं कि क्यों जो मर्द है क्यों उनका जो सुसाइडल रेट है, जो आत्महत्या का रेट है, क्यों ये ज़्यादा है compared to women. So we'll have a guest speaker today.
Yes. Right? I have a guest speaker. His name is Des. He's going to come on air. We have him actually ready to go.
Okay.
He's going to talk to us a little bit about mental health and his own experience. So just he's going to come on shortly here.
All right. So आपके ज़िंदगी में है प्रवीण मेल फिगर जो आपके फ्रेंड्स है जो आपको मदद करते हैं जो आप उनको मदद करते हैं.
That's right. Yeah, I do have some. Yeah.
So हम अपने व्यूअर्स से और अपने लिसनर्स से बस यही पूछना चाहते हैं कि अगर आपने कुछ ऐसे एक्सपीरियंस किया है, चाहे आपके डैड हो, चाहे आपके ब्रदर हो, चाहे आपके ब्रदर इन लॉ हो, चाहे कोई बेस्ट फ्रेंड हो, कजन्स हो, जो मेल है, आदमी है और उन्होंने डिप्रेशन से गुजरा है, राइट? सो ज़रूर हमें बताइए कि आपके साथ क्या ऐसे हुआ है या नहीं. प्रवीण.
हमारे साथ तो नहीं हुआ है,
हाँ.
right? But I do have some other friends that have gone through stuff like that. Mostly women. I haven't come across any males, any of my close friends that are male, besides the gentleman we're going to have on air shortly. So I would like to introduce Desmond. I don't know if you can hear me, Desmond, or not.
Is Desmond on the phone? Oh,
Yeah.
he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Desmond. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Hello.
I'm doing good. Can you hear Desmond?
I can't hear Desmond.
Okay,
no.
hang
Yeah.
on. Well, we'll get your headphone going.
Hi,
Okay.
Desmond. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. So Desmond, this is our Fiji internet radio station, and we are promoting mental health this week for men, yeah. And I really appreciate you coming on air and discussing a little bit about your own story as well as some of the benefits. I mean, you work in a yoga studio, you manage a yoga studio, which is absolutely therapeutic and amazing for any individual, let alone, mental health, but it does help and contribute. So I'm gonna open it up to you, Desmond. I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about what you've gone through and what your opinion is.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on your show today.
Thank you.
That's right, I do manage a fitness and yoga studio under the Oxygen Yoga and Fitness name. And I've been here for about 1.5 years, and it's amazing to be able to offer fitness classes, yoga classes to a wide variety of people. So we see a lot of mostly women in this franchise, but it depends on kind of where you go with that. So for myself, though, I've had my own mental health challenges. A lot of that in the past has had to deal with physical health as well. So when talking about mental health, I naturally kind of bring in both sides of that as well, because it's hard to just talk about the mind without talking about the body as well. And in something like psychiatry or psychology, they overemphasize the mind and its effect on mental health and minimize kind of physical health. And for a physical medicine practitioner, they minimize the impact of the mind, and they maximize the impact of the actual physical components. So it's a conversation that has to happen between both sides in order to be most productive and kind of cover the most ground, which is not an easy thing, because it's a really wide topic. But it's important, obviously, if people are not finding ways to continue on with their lives, and the only real solution that they can find is to end it. So it's a conversation worth having.
So,
Absolutely.
Desmond, that was very well said. I'm Aisha, and pleasure to meet you here on ibmtv.ca and Radio Bulamasti. This month on our platform, we have made it that June is going to be the month for men, and we're here to support men. What do you think, from your experience, are some of the causes of this anxiety and depression which leads to suicide in men? I know we always talk about women. It is great. We love that support. It is great to have that support, and it's we are very lucky to have that support. But let's just focus on men. And what do you think is the cause for this suicide or anxiety, depression, which leads to suicide in men?
Hmm. I think there's two parts to that, which is not to say that there are only two. One part of that is speaking about the, in terms of masculine and feminine. So the masculine tends to be more concerned with the physical aspect of our experience, and that relates to building things, creating things. Sorry, I'm just at the studio now, so you may hear a class starting in the background. But then the masculine tends to be more concerned with creating things, with building things, with kind of pushing forward in terms of technological, industrial progress. So there's like a subtle, whether it's cultural, whether it's just an aspect of being, the masculine aspect of being. It just happens to be that we need to push forward, and that there's a pressure there. And if it doesn't feel like we're able to kind of get our feet underneath us, or to feel like we are creating something, using our hands, using our minds to, create new shapes, new experiences, create new structures and buildings and ideas and innovations and music and arts and all of these things. If we're not doing that, then there can be some tension that builds. And if we don't have the tools in order to, step back from that, to take care of ourselves, to start those ventures with a fresh mind, a fresh heart, then it can really lead to tension that builds up over time. The second aspect is that as men, again, being more concerned, or the masculine being more concerned with physical side of things, whereas the feminine tends to be more concerned with the energetic, non-physical, emotional side of things. We sometimes can run into trouble with that because we may not have learned from our fathers or our community growing up how to express ourselves, how to talk about our feelings, which there's many men who feel just as much as women do. And it's important for us to be able to have spaces, people, to be able to be heard in those ways. So there's kind of from what I'm seeing is a bit of a two-pronged situation, which doesn't mean there isn't more. Like there can be, physical health issues as well that contribute, but we can leave it at that for those two.
Sounds good. So, what are some of the things I know you don't have too much time here with us today. Once again, we have Desmond joining us, and Desmond is a yoga instructor. Is he a yoga?
Yeah, he does. He does do classes. He does instruct yoga, as well as runs the Oxygen Fit Yoga in Brentwood, which is located in Burnaby. I'm really thankful for having him on air and sharing his experience and what he's gone through and his point of view. So thank you, Desmond. And so, yeah, I mean,
Question was, before we go into and hear the story about what you went through, you. We really would appreciate if you would share that. But the question right now is, first of all, is what can we do to support men? Since we are in the topic of what the cause is, we have one question, one comment here saying that sensible program to bring on, and the other comment here is, I think there's some gender bias, and that men do not talk about what they are going through. So and then the other question here is, does Desmond have some suggestions on how to handle mental health issues? So my question to you, Desmond, is how can, we've got this echo coming in, how can we support men, and what can men do so that we can overcome this, or help anyways?
hmm And when you say how can we help, are we speaking of how can women help men?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And also men helping and men, because what I've seen, Desmond, being out in this industry for the last few years, what I've noticed is there was a saying that, oh, women are always jealous about other women. But you know what I'm seeing, and this is just my opinion and my observation, that that some men are really jealous, or feel threatened by other men as well.
Very much so.
Have you experienced
Yeah,
it?
I have experienced
Right,
that.
so it's not just women and women, now it's more so men after men as well.
I think in terms of jealousy, it's something that impacts us all. I tend to, this is maybe says more about me than anything else, but I struggle to paint with too broad of a brush. If we experience one thing, that doesn't mean it's not happening somewhere else or with the opposite sex, right? So I think that these are universal challenges and situations that both men and women experience.
Absolutely.
Now in terms of women being able to support men supporting men, we're just supporting guys, supporting each other here. Honestly, phone calls are, for whatever reason, that's where my mind's really going right now. I mean, I've got things that I would love to share in terms of how men can begin to help themselves as well. But in terms of us helping each other, I think a phone call is really a great place to start. Being able to have that time dedicated for you and the other person. I say phone call because it's accessible. It's generally pretty easy. You don't have to worry about social distancing. You can find a time that works for everyone. You don't have to try and meet up in logistics, somewhere. So being able to just connect on an old school phone call, don't have to worry about mute button and all this other stuff on a computer. Just have a call with someone. See when they're available. Say, hey, I want to check up on you. I'm really curious to hear how you are doing. What's on your mind? What's capturing your attention recently? And when you're on that call, really listen. Really listen to that person, that man, and ask if you can reflect what you're hearing. Try to ask questions and understand them a bit more. And this isn't. This is out of a genuine curiosity for where that man is at, and for him to feel like there's someone who gives a shit about him, and that he is free to really express the thoughts, the emotions that he has with someone who he trusts. So having people like that who you trust, that's another big part of it, is having friends or community members that you trust, whether it's family, whether that's someone that you work with who you trust, or anything in between. Just a conversation, a phone call is a great place to start.
That is great information and
Yes.
great suggestions.
Now, what about some of the health benefits? What would you suggest? What would you say would be good ways of helping yourself? What initiative would you have taken, to the baby steps, like the first step to try to help yourself?
Go to bed early.
Sleep is huge. Sleep is huge. Like, lots of sleep, like, not lots of sleep, but I mean, a good amount of sleep. I mean, it really does have benefits to it, for
And
sure.
we do have a comment here saying limit your TV and social media time. Connect and talk to family and friends.
Yeah, which you did say trust and connect with family and friends that you can trust, right? You did say that. So that's amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not this banging away on a keyboard kind of shit. It's hearing someone's voice. It's
Yes.
being able to pick up on the subtle, verbal, audible communication with another person that you just will not get over punching on a keyboard. So, but I mentioned go to bed early. It's a multi-pronged situation. One, unless you're a night owl, and by a night owl I mean that is actually your chronotype, and you're not just just finding reasons to stay up and then saying you're a night owl, but your most productive time just biologically is going to be morning, afternoon. Some people going to have another sprint in the evening, but there's not, for most people, we don't need to stay up that late. So what does that allow us to do? Number one, we get a great sleep. Well, we can get a better sleep, especially in the summertime now. We can line ourselves up with the rhythms going on. So, let's start working on our biology. Because if we just talk about the mind and not the body, it's half the conversation. But what I start to want to focus on after that is when you get up in the morning, let's pay attention to what is the software program, or what is the CD or record that we're playing, that we play every morning when we get up. And notice maybe how soon does that involve a phone, or going on and checking technology? How soon, this is a question, how soon does hydrating yourself come in the morning? How soon or how late does connecting with your body, connecting with your breath, fall in your pattern in the morning?
So these are all valid things. Yeah, absolutely. You're making us think about this. I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, I mean, yeah, first thing in the morning, what is it that you hydrate yourself with? I mean, they say it, a big glass of tall water is good for you, for your digestive, for your everything. I mean, everything is connected, right? Your mind, your body, your soul. So I see where you're going with this. I mean, you're right. Like, we got to think about those things. Like, are you picking up your phone in the morning? Are you picking up that paper? What your first, what your day's going to look like?
So self-discipline, right?
Yeah,
Paying attention to your to what you're doing and what your habits are.
Exactly.
Well, and here's the thing too, is whether we can have a conversation about it, but I'm going to be general, and I think this applies to 95% of people, is when you wake up in the morning, your most potent, clear, capable, connected time is the time after you get up in the morning, and maybe about 2, 3, 4 hours after that time. You have in that time a great gift, and that gift is your attention and your clarity of mind and body. If you start to use that and you focus on creating a conscious connection with yourself, you are creating a new pattern, and you're creating a new chemistry in your body. And if you keep doing that each day, that's going to build, and you're going to create better health, better mental and physical health, better clarity, more relaxation, instead of using that most potent potential time that we have in the morning and wasting it on looking at a screen and punching on this glass box, which when we compare it like that seems absurd. We're actually wanting to use that fresh time in the morning to be conscious of ourselves, to move our body in a conscious way, to breathe, to find gratitude, to say, wow, I can just be still here and soak in this time, and this feels so good to just relax in this stillness. And then from there, whatever you want to do for the day, go for it. If you want to go hard at work then, or you want to, start to create that put rubber to the road of that idea that you thought, all that stuff is great, but now you're coming from a place of taking care of yourself and not just falling into this default pattern that becomes so easy in modern life. So it's starting right, and if that means you got to go to bed earlier, go to bed earlier. If that means that you need to put the phone in another room or set up a system in some way for you to do this, leave a note, like in your bathroom to remind yourself, leave a note on your kitchen counter that is the one thing that you need to focus on for 10, 15, 30 minutes in the morning. Start to do it, and it's pretty clear if it doesn't take you a month to see a result from that, usually the first day.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really
advice.
very, very good. So this all ties into a little bit of self-care. I mean, not just a lot of self-care, really. And so tell us now, well, I appreciate that because that's just amazing advice. Now tell us a little bit about your own story. Like, are these some of the things that you actually, you used as tools to help yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, it's one thing to hear me for the first time and for me to share these things and whatnot, but I want to say I've probably struggled more than most people, and I'm not being minimizing or invalidating anyone by saying that, but I have struggled severely with being disconnected from my body, being caught in just constant movement and busyness and confusion around my own physical health, feelings of unsafety, just totally lost.
Go ahead. You did, just to touch a little bit about what you just said. Okay, so this is really important that we understand this. Like, the whole busyness, the confusion, the disconnect, when you're going, and the disconnect with your physical health. That's like, I want to point that out, that you just mentioned all of these things, because this is so important. And I think a lot of us don't realize, and this goes universal. This is about men. It's men's mental health, and this is huge for them. But I think we forget, right? We forget what we're going through, and we don't connect it. So I'm really happy that you just mentioned this, because it's a great reminder to all of us. Now, please, continue your story, please.
Yeah, no, thank you for double tapping on that. I think it's really important to point out sometimes, when I was thinking about, men's mental health, it's like, I know my story, and I'm sure there's universal aspects for both men and women, but that confusion, the busyness, the not feeling like I'm in control, feeling like things are really working against me is a huge thing that I struggled with, and that really actually came into full view when I was in a relationship a long-term relationship last year, and just the way that things had started at that point, my health at that time became very clear how I was not doing well. And so last year there was a big shift over time towards greater alignment in health. So, but I think we're kind of getting a bit tangential. So to try and bring it back, I think I was originally talking about my own journey with that. And yeah, I mean, it was that relationship for me that started to make me see, oh shit, like I'm really not in line with what I want to be embodying in this relationship. So began a process. I'm a yoga instructor. I've done 400 hours of training. I hadn't been on my yoga mat in, oh my God, like 2-3 years maybe. I don't know. Like I didn't have a consistent daily practice or anything like that yet. I've been trained, and just because the busyness is so consuming. And I started to get back on the mat, and it took one time for me to get on the mat and realize, holy shit, why haven't I unrolled this piece of rubber sooner and stood on it and started to breathe sooner? Because I feel so much better having done that. And I was taking note at those times where, wow, this feels better. And starting to imprint that in my mind, because the next day when I would go into the same pattern, I'd remember how good, how much better I felt yesterday having done that. And so I would just try to pay attention to those things and just realize that I'm doing this to feel better. I'm doing this to be more relaxed. I am doing this to be the person, be the man that I have been in the past and that I want to be now. And I have to take better care of myself in order to do that.
That's amazing. That's
So
amazing.
Desmond, thank you very much for sharing that. Yoga, doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah.
I've heard many benefits of yoga. Now, just going back into the symptoms of depression and anxiety, because suicide is the last thing that we want to get to. So let's get to some of the symptoms. And what are some of the signs or symptoms that we should be watching out for, whether it's men or women? But this is more so focused on men, and this is about men that we're talking about, providing them support, being there for them, listening to them, talking to their family or friends, whoever you can trust, trying out yoga, self-discipline. But how can someone tell that they are depressed or they're going through anxiety?
Mine was distancing myself. So I would not engage with people. I wouldn't be the first person to try and reach out. I didn't have any interest in that. A lot of times too, because when I would reach out to people and they'd ask, how are you? And I'd be like, I'm really struggling still. I'm still really confused about what's going on with my body. And I got tired of sharing the same story, and I didn't really have anything else going on. So I distanced myself. And, a lot of people were totally okay with me sharing that same situation at that before realizing that I needed to do that. So for a very long time, I distanced myself from friends, and that was my sign. And it's been pretty crazy actually in the last 7-8 months, maybe 9 months. I am incredibly social to a degree that I hadn't been since coming to Vancouver. It was a very there was a very positive shift with this self-care practices.
So did you kind of notice that yourself, or did someone else pointed out that you're not being very social, you're kind of self-isolating, and who pushed you to get into yoga or to get help? Was it something that you did it on your own?
So let's see. I noticed myself that I wasn't reaching out or putting myself into social situations. So that was, that was me. It was very obvious to myself. I'm just like, I don't feel like engaging. And then in terms of physical practice, what I did actually was, I think one morning I did 10 push-ups or something. And then the next morning, I'm like, I'm going to do 11 push-ups. And I think on the second day or something, I might have done those push-ups, and then I pulled out the yoga mat, breathed a little bit in a forward fold. I was like, oh shit, I feel better.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I just, I would love for there to be like, just do this and things will be perfect. But I think the key is to hone our awareness. And instead of saying, okay, just do this, this, and this, I would want someone to become really present with themselves, to notice that I feel uncomfortable, and then when I do X, which often is exercise or eating better or sleeping or socializing, notice, I feel better. Okay, let's put a pin down on that point on the map, so I can come back to that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, did you ever feel like you needed to resort to having extra drinks of alcohol or use of drugs? Even your physical appearance. I mean, you just mentioned that you felt good doing 10 push-ups and then you went to 11. Now, did you ever feel yourself dropping, meaning holding back from the way you looked, how you were dressing, any of those things?
I might, I'm not sure if I fully understand the question that in terms of holding back. Could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry. It's me a little bit hooked on phonics, Des. I'm so sorry. So what I mean by that is, did you feel like, a lot of people, for myself, right? I work from home, so a lot of the times I have my hair back and pulled back, and I just, and I'm cool with that. That's kind of like my vibe, right? And but a lot of people are snazzy, dress up and dress to kill. Did you feel like any of that, your physical appearance, not just your body, but just the way you groomed yourself, did that ever change? Did you feel like you didn't have it in you to get up and get dressed, or or comb your hair, or hopefully you brushed your teeth, Des? That's
yeah. No, that's really interesting, and I think that is a clever point to take note of. Self-grooming is, that could certainly be a sign. I don't recall anything like that in particular for myself, but, for guys, it's like, probably we wouldn't shave for a while. We just start looking a bit like a wild man, maybe. And, it's 2021. Guys are growing out their facial hair, so who really knows if that's anything related to depression or mental health? But
this is true. It's true. It's true. Styles are so different now, right? Facial hair is just a thing right now that's going on, right, for guys. So I totally understand. Yeah, that's not a huge thing. It was just it was a question asked from one of our listeners, so I thought I'd bring it up. But no, that's true. That's true. Trends are trends, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, Desmond, one more question for you. Did something change? And it's personal, and excuse my ignorance if I missed hearing you. Did something change in your life that was taking you towards depression or being feeling low in the way you felt before you realized it and started giving yourself self care?
Yeah, let me think of how to present
You
that.
don't have to answer that if you don't want to,
No,
although.
no, it's not a matter of not wanting to. It's how do I make this coherent? Because it's been a challenging journey for myself. So I have had and have a lot of gut issues, insomnia, skin issues from the gut stuff, food intolerances, just a whole host of crap that nobody should have to deal with. And it wasn't known. No one was able to find out what was at the roots of any of this stuff. And as really the only advocate for myself was me, I had to start to try and look down different avenues. So I was researching, I was pouring all of my energy into this because the symptoms were awful and didn't create a sense of safety. So I naturally, I guess, tried to find safety through looking for a solution. And that was a many-year process. It still is. And that drew in all of my attention, all of my energy. It was always a thing, and it became really, really huge. And then there was less time to step back and say, wow, the sun's really nice today. Like, this is great. Wow, I had a great conversation with someone. This is really, really nice. Doesn't it feel so good just to lie in my bed at night? You know, there wasn't time for any of these things. And I just kept going and going and going and going and going, and I burnt out several times. And so I had this steady progress of physical health leading to mental health challenges. So yeah, it's been a long road. Still not out of it, but I am in a much better place after some of the things that I mentioned earlier.
Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that, but you know what? I have to say I'm proud to hear that you realized it, you recognized it, and you executed it, and here you are trying to give some advice to probably a lot of people that are going through a lot of stuff in their life and they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to address it, or because we are so busy in our life, we don't even pay attention to our body, to what our body needs and to what our body is doing to us. So Desmond, I have to say you're quite brave to come out and talk about this on the radio and willing to help the men around us, because you know what, a lot of times I hear is, oh, he's a man, he should man up, or he should be strong, or he's strong, or he's not man enough, and so things like that I've heard, and that kind of demotes people and brings them down.
It does. I mean, I really frown upon when people actually, discredit, like they just go out and, oh, look at him, he's acting like a baby, he should be a man. Like, I just, for me, I have zero tolerance for people like that. I think that it's really rude, and I think it's it's their own insecurities. Why? Like, what does it matter? I mean, you know what? That person is being vulnerable, and I think that we should appreciate a man that's being vulnerable. I mean, I think that, it takes a lot of guts to share a story, to show that side, and I think that we're too quick to judge a book by its cover. I think that we should also get to know what's inside and understand it and love it for what it is and who it is and what it's about. Now,
and here's the thing: we are all human. Maybe male, maybe female, maybe somewhere in between or on either side of that, we are still all human. And if we are creating separation between ourselves and anyone else, we are doing ourselves and that person a disservice, and we're also losing out on life when we do that, because we're putting our experience, we're putting other people inside of a box, and that box is huge because it includes all of us. So, it's, again, like I said earlier in this chat, that I kind of struggled to say that there's, men for this and women for that. It's like, we're all human. We all have mental health, physical health challenges. So this is really for, if you're a human being and you have breath in your lungs, then this is a conversation for you, and this is a conversation for the people that you care about too.
Exactly, and that's what I say, men have feelings too, and a lot of times, Desmond, what I've seen is, like I said earlier, men are called, oh, they're men, or as a woman, I need to be looked after, not you, or you're supposed to look after me. Recently, we've lost a few guys in our community due to suicide, and God knows what they were going through. One, I know, they were going through separation and divorce, and so what happened was, the guy was not allowed to see his kids. He wasn't allowed. Yeah, the kids were taken away from him, and on top of that, it was child support. Now I want this, I want that, and it was like, I want everything, and the poor guy. Even with child support, as he was paying child support, the wife would go and say, oh, I'm paying babysitting now, when she wasn't. She hired a family member. So she was claiming all this from the husband, or the father, not the husband now, it's ex-husband, but from the father of the children. And the poor guy just completely gave up. And in some communities, it is hard for men to speak up. So in the end, what happened was, God knows what else was going on. All we know is, unfortunately, it's harsh, and it might, what I'm going to say might not be suitable for all the viewers and the listeners, but unfortunately, the guy ended up committing suicide. He hung himself. Right. And that happens quite a bit. And Pravin here sent us a quote this morning in our group chat, that 75% of the people sometimes could be going through anxiety, depression, and chances for men to commit suicide is higher than women.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's that's why this is a conversation we need to have.
Yeah, this is true. It's true.
Yeah.
Now, Desmond, tell me a little bit about yoga. So, I mean, yoga is very therapeutic, and it's very universal, right? And it's breathing, it's connecting, it's it's connecting your mind, your body, your soul. And so a lot of this has a lot of health benefits, and it ties into mental health as well. I mean, it's not only for your physical health, your mental health. I mean, like your thoughts, everything is connected to yoga. I think like, breathing, right? Like the fitness part of it, just lying on your mat. If you don't feel like doing anything, you made it to your mat. Tell us a little bit about the pros and cons of having yoga.
The cons is there's none.
There's none.
If you're practicing in a mindful way, an informed way,
Okay.
Injury can happen if you're not being mindful. It doesn't need to be an aggressive practice. This isn't weightlifting and trying to get a personal record. This is first and foremost. This is let's go back for a sec. What the hell does that actually mean? Yoga is to yoke. We are, in a sense, restraining or bringing in parts of ourself that are, in the busyness, flying all over the place. Our mind is one way, our heart's another way. Our body's trying to tell us one thing. Our breath is short. Like we are, what's the word for it? We're out of whack. So yoga is to bring together, to make coherent, and coherent means harmonize.
Harmonize, yeah. Your mind, your body, and your soul. Yeah, absolutely.
So if we have this practice of harmonization and we're feeling out of harmony, it's a good idea for us to maybe consider what that practice is offering or showing us. So I'm just stepping outside here. Class is just coming out, but so why are we practicing? Is I was mentioning earlier about the busyness, about confusion, about all these other negative things of just being out of control. I did not have a practice of harmonizing my body or harmonizing my mind. So it was strange as well, me being a yoga instructor, or at least being trained, and not practicing that myself. Now, it doesn't have to be yoga, it can be whatever does it for you, or whatever has done it for you in the past, or whatever harmonizes your body. And by harmonizing the body, that's a really, I want to say, an easier way in than just trying to look at the mind and telling it to harmonize. Right? The mind and the body are connected. If you've got tension in your body, your mind's probably also going to have tension, and vice versa. But we physically, as physical beings, we can control, we can control the physicality of ourselves a bit easier. And by getting on the mat, by breathing, by slowing down, by opening our bodies, releasing tension, all of these things can start to harmonize us, and we can feel that in the relief that it brings in our mental state and in our physical state. And it's just a beautiful practice. It's like we can definitely talk about it, but once you're on the mat, once you feel your breath expanding, once you feel your shoulders dropping down, and that sense of, holy fuck, where has my body and my connection to it been this whole time?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if I can swear on the in here, but
it's okay. We'll just do a beep. There you go. You're absolutely right. There is a lot of as soon as you hit that mat, there is just something to be said. And just for our listeners out there, yoga is one way, right? And it's connecting your mind, your body, your soul, harmonizing those, all together as one. And you can use an app at home. You can use you can lay on the couch and do it. You can lay on a mat at home and do it. It doesn't have to be in a class, in a studio. We understand that due to COVID, some things are restricted at the moment. However, meditation is huge. Meditation is huge. And, and the cons, like we talked about, you said it earlier, there's not really a con to this, but it's practicing good karma. Good karma meaning be kind, be mindful of who you are, what you're doing, and and the rest will come. Do you agree with that, with what I just said, Desmond?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a lifestyle. This is non-negotiable. The funny thing is that as humans, or just as organisms, animals that Mother Nature has created, we innately have an incredible capacity for life. And oftentimes, just because of modern culture and many other things, we are abusing that privilege and running ourselves into the dirt because we have so much to give. But that doesn't mean that we can get away with not doing anything for ourselves. It doesn't mean we can get away with poor diet or restricting sleep for extended periods of time or not breathing. You know, in order for us to maintain having that privilege, we have to honor the physical, emotional, energetic, spiritual vessel that we are. And if we do that, then we can give to the highest degree that we truly want to be able to, and not have to worry about running ourselves into the ground or running into situations. Now, it's different. I want to be a little bit careful with that too, because there can inevitably, whatever situation will be, those situations where you just need help. And having people that you trust, having a practice that you trust, right? Before shit hits the fan, right? But oftentimes that is when we start to actually consider these things, right? We try out the well of our privilege before we start looking for how to actually refill it.
That's right, yeah.
True.
So let's start today to say, you know what, I've got, let's say, another 70, 60 years in my life. I'm going to spend the next hour just considering how I might make this a little bit easier on myself, a little bit better for the people around me, and not wait until I am on the edge, ready to jump off before doing something about it.
Yeah. Very true, very true. And you gotta start somewhere. It's not too late, it's never too late. Desmond, we wanna thank you very much for your time, for your advice, for sharing your story. You know, it's not easy motivating us. This is about men's mental health. And I think these are good things for men to hear from a man. And some of the ways that you could help yourself, you know, by recognizing, by asking for help, by doing certain stuff. So Desmond, once again, we want to thank you very much for coming on to ibmtv.ca and Radio Bulamasti. We appreciate you. And
Yeah,
hopefully
thank
we could take on some yoga as well.
I already do.
Absolutely.
You do.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to
I
join me.
I wanted to share. I wanted to share a couple more things, and thank you so much for having me. It's really been a pleasure and honor being able to speak with both of you, and hopefully being able to share the message with men out there. You know, like I mentioned earlier in our chat, I've struggled a lot with this stuff, and you know, it is possible. I actually went through my own separation last year, and I was on the brink. I was suicidal, and I had to figure that situation out, and there was a lot of community support. It was talking with my family. It was getting 3 meals in each day. It was moving my body. It was taking care of my physical vessel, and slowly I started to find balance. So I was there not that long ago.
Wow.
I was there not that long ago, and I wrote a letter as well.
Oh wow.
I've never done that before. It was surreal. So I've been there, and the things that that I'm sharing is what it's can be a grindy, slow process when you're really in the thick of it, but making it easier for ourselves when we're not in the thick of it, and really setting a foundation of our self-care. There are two other things I just wanted to try and share quickly, which was I remember when I was suicidal, not that long ago, I remember asking myself, have you eaten your 3 meals today? Have you moved your body today in the way that you should? And on those days when I was feeling like really giving up, and I asked myself that, my answer was no. I haven't been doing those things. Then I didn't have an excuse at that point. If I still felt like that after taking care of myself in all the ways I knew I needed to, I would maybe have that conversation again with myself of, well, is it worth hanging around? But at least for me in those moments, I was not taking care of myself, and so I didn't have an excuse to not continue anymore. Am I actually doing these things? Yes or no? It's black and white. And if you aren't, you know what to do. If you are, then there's a conversation needs to continue.
Very true. Very true.
I'm holding a free yoga and yoga nidra, which is let's call it an awake nap. So yoga and yoga nidra session this Saturday, 8 a.m. at Beaconsfield Park, which many people probably have no clue where that is, but it is the smaller, lesser known, much more quiet and serene cousin to Trout Lake in East Vancouver. Beaconsfield Park, so outdoor, socially distanced, all of the good things. That's Beaconsfield, BEACONS Field Park, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Yoga and yoga nidra. Bring a yoga mat, water, towel, coffee, tea if that's your thing, CBD if that's your thing. Just whatever helps you to ground in, get present, and in taking those who show up through just a really gentle, comprehensive, feel-good flow of yoga, suitable for all levels. And then we're going to find some deep rest, deep restoration afterwards, to find that place of stillness, to clear out all the crap, start fresh, and look at life with bright, fresh eyes.
Very true.
Yeah, so nice. So this is a free event that you're doing, or
Yes.
Yoga. What would you call it? An event? What would you say again? Like session, yoga session, I guess.
Yeah, no, we could call it a class. We could call it a session. We could call it a workshop. Like it's all of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long is it for?
That's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Also 2 hours.
Okay, so 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and it's Beaconsfield, which is brother to Trout, and it's quiet, social distancing. This is amazing. This is so amazing that you're doing this. I mean, I think it's great to have everybody, listening. Remember that this is a good outlet for you to come out, clear your mind, your body, your soul, and reconnect and harmonize. That's the biggest thing here, is to reconnect and harmonize.
That's exactly right.
That's excellent.
And 8 a.m., like I was saying, before all the other shit starts playing from the previous day and the previous day before that, let's get out in the morning before all that stuff starts and create a new opportunity.
There you go.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Desmond. And so if anyone is interested, please do go. Free yoga from 8 to 10 a.m. Beaconsfield Park, East Vancouver. And that's from 8 to 10 a.m. Thank you very much, Desmond, for your time. And
This Saturday. Yep.
This Saturday,
coming
that's right.
Saturday.
Yep. This Saturday. Thank you. And yeah, thank you so much, Desmond. We really appreciate you taking the time. Your knowledge of, mental health and what you've gone through, what you just shared, your opinions, your thoughts. I mean, all of these things are so valuable, and it's a beautiful thing. It's so beautiful that you've been able to share in quite detail what you went through and your thoughts, and sharing the yoga, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
And we have a comment here from Ikram Ali, one of our viewers, saying, "Wish Desmond all the best." And
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Once again, I really appreciate you coming on air. I know this was kind of a last minute thing to get you on, but we really appreciate it. And thanks again for sharing all of those beautiful, your opinions, your thoughts, your stories. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much
All right.
for having me. This is an absolute pleasure. I hope that the viewers and anybody listening got something from it. I certainly know I did to really crystallize some of these things. And if anybody wants to find me on social media, I'm at the_metaphysicist.
Sorry,
So PHE underscore META physicist. And that's my Instagram handle, so you can find me in my adventures there.
Okay. If you get a chance, if you can kindly text that to me, and then I'll put it. We'll put it on air as well.
Perfect.
Okay.
right, Desmond.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Desmond. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much.
You're
Have a
welcome.
great day.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to ibmtv.ca or radiobulamasti.com. I'm your host Aisha, and with me I have Peppa Prasad, and we are talking about men's mental health. Yes, and Father's Day is